Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and today we're taking a look and installing the CURT front mounted hitch on a 2019 Chevy Silverado 3500. Now this is what our hitch is going to look like when it's actually installed, and you can see it's rather recessed here, but the main thing that we have is our receiver opening, and it's going to be a 2" by 2". Now this is going to be great for a number of different things. A lot of times in the Midwest here we see snow plows attached to these, but also you can mount a ball mount to here if you need to move some trailers around a lot, or even a bike rack or cargo carrier can be mounted up front as well. Now, as far as trades go, a lot of times people will actually put a load extender up front as well, and that way if you have conduit or long lumber or ladders even, you can support that on the front of the vehicle. Now when you are ready to put your accessories in the front, you're going to see there's going to be a 5/8 hitch pin hole. Now it does not come with the pin and clip, but a lot of times your accessories will actually come with it, and you can actually pick up a locking one here available at eTrailer. We have a bunch of different varieties, and that way when you have your accessories loaded up, you can actually know that they're going to be locked in place and they're not going to walk away in the hands of someone else. Now as far as capacities go, this is rated for a decent amount of weight. In fact, you have a gross trailer weight rating of 5,000 pounds. So that's going to be the weight of the trailer plus the accessories loaded up onto it. Now as far as the tongue weight goes, the downward pressure here is going to be 500 pounds. So that's going to be able to support you know, those snow plows or anything up front that's going to be heavy, your cargo carriers. It also has a straight line pull of 9,000 pounds. So overall, some pretty good numbers for the accessories you'll be loading up. Now that straight line pull is going to be if you have a winch mounted up here, or if you want to yank some trees out or whatever it may be, you're going to have a decent amount of weight to work with and really put the truck to use. Taking a few quick measurements, we're going to measure from the center of the hitch pin hole to the furthest point of the front bumper. We're looking about 5.5 inches, and that's important just to note when you do buy your accessories, making sure that they are going to actually clear that front bumper. Now something else we're going to check is the ground clearance here, and it is rather low. So from the top of the receiver tube opening to the ground, we're looking at about 10 inches. So that is something to think about, not only when you have your accessories loaded up, but if you are doing some off-road driving or maybe just off, you know, rougher terrain, this is going to be hanging down a decent amount. So just look out for any road clearances. So if there's a road tire or something, you might not be able to pass over it anymore. But again, this is pretty strong. It's mounted to the frame, so don't worry too much. Now, if you are worried about that ground clearance, there's other options available. In fact, the Eco Front hitch is pretty nice in the fact that it mounts right here, and it actually comes with a plate relocator. That way it looks factory, and then when you need to use it, that plate can come out. It's also going to gain you that ground clearance, so you have a little bit more peace of mind. Now as far as the installation goes, this is actually really easy. You're just going to be using an existing bolt that goes to the tow hooks, and then you're just going to use a pull wire to get another bolt put in the frame rail. So this can be done in your driveway or garage in probably about 20 to 30 minutes, assuming you have all the right tools. So I'm going to walk you through all those steps to make sure that you get your front hitch installed. Let's take a look at that now. Now this installation is pretty straightforward, and we're going to be doing this on a lift just to make it easier for you. But honestly, this is something you can absolutely do in your driveway or in the garage. And really just to get this started, we're going to have 2 bolts that we're going to need to actually take out. We're going to find our 18mm bolt here. You can just find your front tow hook, and that's where it's actually going to be mounted. And I'm just going to be using my ratchet to get to it here, and we'll go ahead and get this removed. Now you're going to want to grab your fish wire here, as well as a spacer block and your carriage bolt. And what we're going to be doing is on this outside of the frame rail, you can see where the sway bar is. We're going to feed our bolt in here eventually, and that's where that front hitch is going to actually mount up. But in order to get it there, we're going to be taking the coiled end of our pull wire, and I'm going to just feed it up to this square hole. Now there's bolt is here, so you may kind of have to feed it around, but kind of get your finger in here and grab that coiled section. Sometimes bending the fish wire also will help kind of get it in a nicer angle to feed it. So I'm going to throw a little bend in it here, and that's going to make it a little bit easier to put it right here at this access hole. And then once you get that coiled end in, what you're going to do is just take your spacer block, and you can go ahead and just feed that in And then this coiled end, you're just going to take your carriage bolt here and thread that on all the way. And then we can put our carriage bolt here in the frame as well. And I'm going to kind of just jostle this around, just kind of make sure we have it in place. But when we actually put the hitch up, you're going to want this pushed in. That way we can raise the hitch in place. But keep your pull wire on here, and that's going to make it a lot easier for the installation. We're going to go ahead and repeat the same process on the other side of the vehicle with getting our bolt and pulling our fish wire through. Now, with an extra set of hands, or if you are working by yourself, you can use a floor jack to kind of raise this up in place. But have your bolt that you removed handy, because what we're going to do is we're going to take our pull wire, feed it through here. As we raise this up, we'll just get this in place and just kind of get a few threads started by hand. So we'll pull our fish wire through here, and then as we raise this in place, the bolt that we removed is going to simply bolt it back up. So just kind of slide this up. And then you can take your bolt and just kind of get it hand started on that weld nut there. It's a little tight here, so you may have to kind of find a good angle. But again, once we get this started, that's going to hold it up in place for us. Now, if you're struggling to hand feed that in, you can also kind of align the side hole here and then take your pull wire. And when you pull that bolt through, that's going to create a nice stud that it can rest on as well. So with that bolt pulled through, that's going to have that weight of the hitch kind of holding in place. I'm going to go ahead and take my fish wire off and just take the nut that is included in the kit. And I'm just going to hand tighten this on here. That way we kind of have all of our hardware in place. Now just make sure this doesn't push into the frame, otherwise you're going to have to re-pull it through with the fish wire. But generally this hitch is going to put enough pressure to kind of keep that in place. So I'll go ahead and take our nut here, and I'm just going to get this hand tightened on here. And I'm going to do the same on the other side, and that way we have all of our hardware in place. So I'm just going to tighten these down before taking our torque wrench to it. So again, it's going to be the 18 millimeter for that bolt that we originally took off from the tow hook. And then our nut that we got in the hardware kit is going to be a 3/4. So we'll go ahead and get those snug, but we don't really need to crank them down too terribly hard because, like I said, we're going to go back with the torque wrench, make sure they're at the proper torque setting. So now we're just going to go back and torque down our hardware. Now there are going to be two different torque settings that you're going to find in the instruction manual, so just make sure that you're accounting for that. And if you need a torque wrench, we actually have them available here at eTrailer, or you can generally rent them at an auto parts store. But this is going to be an important step. It's going to make sure that they are tight enough to not become loose over time, but also not too tight, putting stress on the threads. So now we'll do the same on our new hardware here, and again, different torque setting, and this is going to be a 3/4 inch socket. Now with all of our hardware in, tightened, and torqued to spec, we're ready to start using our front hitch. And that was a look and installation of the CURT front mounted hitch on a 2019 Chevy Silverado 3500.